Focus. Imagine every thought in your mind right now. Every word you speak to yourself, every mental replay, every story you're telling yourself about what you can or cannot do. This is the battlefield, the silent war being waged every second of every day. And here's the hard truth. Your mind is either your weapon or your prison. Most people live trapped in the prison of their own negative thinking. They replay old failures, magnify imagined problems, and obsess over worst-case scenarios. And what does it get them? Stress, paralysis, lost opportunities, frustration. They think thinking is harmless, but it is the single greatest determinant of results. Your energy, your focus, your actions, your relationships, even your finances, all of it begins with your mental state. Negativity is like acid. It corrodes energy, confidence, and courage. It silently reduces productivity. It quietly drains relationships. It robs vision and narrows possibility. You wake up each day thinking, I can't, it's too hard, I'm not ready, and without realizing it, you build a life that confirms those beliefs. But here's the reality that most people ignore. Thoughts are not fate. Thoughts are tools. You can let them control you, or you can control them. You can feed fear, doubt, and blame, or you can feed courage, curiosity, and relentless action. You can choose victimhood, or you can choose mastery. Negative thinking isn't accidental, it's habitual, it's learned. And just like any habit, it can be unlearned, but it takes awareness, it takes honesty, it takes the willingness to stare at the patterns that have been secretly running your life. It requires discipline, accountability, and courage. This is the wake-up call. Your thoughts today are shaping your world tomorrow. They're influencing what opportunities you see, how people respond to you, and even how money and resources flow into your life. You are attracting either limitation or expansion, depending on the lens you choose. Negative thinking doesn't appear out of nowhere. It is learned, conditioned, and reinforced over time. It comes from the environment you grew up in, the people you listened to, the failures you internalized, and the stories you allowed to define you. Most people think their thoughts are spontaneous, but in reality, they are habits, the most stubborn habits you have. Look back. How often did someone tell you, you can't, that's too hard, or you're not enough? How many times did you replay a mistake, relive a disappointment, or imagine the worst case scenario? Every repetition of fear, doubt, or criticism wired your brain to default to negativity. It became automatic. It became comfortable, and comfort in fear is one of the greatest traps there is. Here's the kicker, your brain doesn't care if a thought is true or false. It responds to emotion and repetition. The more you rehearse a limiting belief, the stronger it becomes. Every I can't reinforces your limits. Every I'm not ready builds an invisible barrier. Your mind becomes a filter, showing you proof of what you already believe and hiding proof of your possibilities. But here's the empowering truth. If negative thinking is learned, it can be unlearned. The very same neurological pathways that create fear, doubt, and limitation can be rewired to produce courage, optimism, and action. The first step is awareness. You must recognize the patterns, the triggers, the recurring stories you tell yourself. Without awareness, change is impossible. Once you understand the source, you take ownership. You realize that negativity isn't your fate. It's a habit you've been practicing unconsciously. And once you claim responsibility, you gain the power to interrupt it, reshape it, and replace it with something that fuels growth instead of stagnation. Negative thinking is only dangerous if you let it run on autopilot. When you confront it, dissect it, and replace it with disciplined, intentional patterns of thought, you begin to reclaim your energy, your clarity, and your power. In the next section, we uncover the emotional cost of negative thinking, how it drains your energy, limits your confidence, and silently sabotages your relationships, career, and opportunities. Negative thinking is not just a nuisance. It is a silent saboteur of your energy, your confidence, and your potential. Every thought you dwell on, every story you tell yourself about failure, fear, or inadequacy drains mental and physical energy. You feel exhausted, overwhelmed, and even paralyzed, and you often don't realize the culprit is your own mind. Confidence is a direct product of your thoughts. When your dominant internal dialogue is self-critical, fearful, or pessimistic, your belief in yourself erodes. You hesitate when opportunities arise. You second-guess decisions. You shrink from challenges. And the worst part, the world mirrors back what you project. The more negative you are, the more limited and difficult your experiences feel. Your mind becomes a magnet for limitation. Relationships are also deeply affected. People respond to energy, not words. When negativity dominates your state, it creates tension, pushes others away, and erodes trust. Allies, mentors, partners, even your friends sense the energy of limitation and unconsciously distance themselves. Your ability to attract support, guidance, and collaboration is diminished, not because the world is against you, but because your energy repels the very people who could help you expand. Career and financial growth suffer too. Negative thinking leads to hesitation, procrastination, and avoidance. You miss opportunities, you underperform, you rationalize inaction with excuses and worst-case scenarios. Waiting for the perfect moment becomes a habit, and that moment rarely arrives. Every day spent trapped in negative thought is a day of lost momentum, lost opportunity, and lost potential. The most insidious aspect of negativity is that it's invisible until it's too late. You feel stressed, drained, and stuck. You blame circumstances, luck, or other people. But the real problem is internal. Your thoughts are controlling your state, your actions, and ultimately your results. Here's the empowering truth. Every negative thought is a choice. Every limiting belief is a habit you've cultivated, and every moment you spend in negativity is energy you're giving away for free. Once you recognize this, you reclaim control. Awareness is the first step. Accountability is next. Discipline is essential. And when these align, you can begin killing negative thinking at its root. In the next section, we explore the first practical strategy, awareness and interruption, catching destructive thoughts before they hijack your mind. The first weapon against negative thinking is awareness. You cannot fight what you do not see. Most people wander through their day on autopilot, letting thoughts run unchecked. They replay fears, complaints, and self-doubt like a broken record, believing it's reality. It's not. It's a pattern, a habit that you can intercept. But first you have to notice it. Start by observing your internal dialogue. Notice when you say, I can't, it's too hard, or I'm not enough. Notice when you catastrophize, blame others, or rehearse worst-case scenarios. Awareness is not judgment. It is clarity. It is shining a spotlight on what has been running in the shadows. Without awareness, negative thinking remains invisible yet powerful enough to hijack every action, every decision, and every opportunity. Once you recognize a negative thought, interrupt it immediately. This can be done in many ways. A physical cue, a shift in posture, a deep breath, or a verbal command like stop. Interrupting the autopilot response is critical because thoughts are energy. The longer a negative thought runs, the more neural pathways it strengthens. Interrupt it early and you weaken it. The next step is to replace it. Every interruption is an opportunity to choose a thought that empowers, motivates, or moves you toward your goals. Replace I can't do this with I can learn to do this. Replace this is impossible with I am capable of finding a solution. It's not fluff. It's training your nervous system, rewiring the brain, and reclaiming control over your internal state. This practice requires discipline. It is not a one-time effort. You must catch your thoughts hundreds of times a day. Each repetition strengthens your ability to notice, interrupt, and replace. Over time, what was once automatic, negativity, becomes optional. What was once habitual, fear and doubt, becomes manageable. Awareness and interruption are the foundation of mental mastery. Without them, all other strategies fail because your mind continues to sabotage your efforts from the inside. With them, you create space to choose positivity, clarity, and action, the energy that fuels achievement and attraction. Negative thinking thrives on interpretation. It feeds on the stories you tell yourself about events, people, and circumstances. A challenge becomes a disaster. A failure becomes proof you're incapable. A critique becomes a personal attack. This is the trap, but the escape lies in reframing, the practice of choosing a different story, a different meaning. Reframing does not ignore reality. It does not deny pain. It does not make excuses for mistakes. Instead, it changes the lens through which you view them, and in doing so, changes the energy, the response, and the outcome. Every obstacle holds a hidden opportunity. Every difficulty contains a lesson. Every no redirects you toward a better path. When you face a negative thought, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How can I use this to grow? How can I turn this into momentum? This shifts the mind from victimhood to mastery. It shifts energy from stagnation to action. It shifts focus from limitation to possibility. Reframing is not a magic trick. It is a skill, a muscle that strengthens with practice. Every successful person you admire has mastered reframing. They've taken failure and converted it into insight. They've taken criticism and converted it into fuel. They've taken rejection and converted it into redirection. This is how negative events become stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Reframing also strengthens resilience. It trains your nervous system to remain resourceful under pressure. It rewires your brain to see solutions instead of problems. And most importantly, it breaks the cycle of negativity by disrupting the habitual story your mind automatically tells. Start small. Notice one negative thought. Reframe it, one at a time. Over weeks, your habitual responses shift, your energy rises, your confidence expands, your ability to act decisively increases. The world begins to respond differently because your energy is no longer anchored in limitation. Remember, negative thinking is not just a mental pattern, it is an energy pattern. Reframing transforms the energy, and when your energy changes, your life changes. Your mind is like a muscle. It strengthens with deliberate exercise and atrophies with neglect. Negative thinking is not a permanent trait. It is a habit that can be retrained through daily mental conditioning. The most successful people don't rely on motivation alone. They rely on disciplined rituals that shape their thoughts, their energy, and their beliefs. Every morning is a reset. How you start your day sets the tone for every thought, every decision, every interaction. Begin with practices that elevate your state, visualization, gratitude, affirmations, movement, or meditation. These are not fluff. They are programming sessions for your nervous system. Each repetition creates pathways that reinforce positivity, resilience, and focus. Negative thinking thrives in idle time. It feeds on worry, distraction, and unstructured mental energy. Daily mental conditioning interrupts that cycle. It is a consistent reminder that you control your focus, your energy, and your interpretation of life. It builds momentum before the world has a chance to demand your energy and pull you back into autopilot. Discipline is the secret ingredient. You will not feel like doing these practices every day. You will resist. You will think, I don't have time, or this won't work. That's exactly when it matters most. The difference between people who succeed and people who stagnate is who shows up even when motivation fades. Habits outweigh mood every single time. Accountability is another cornerstone. Track your mental practices. Journal your thoughts. Reflect on progress and setbacks. When you hold yourself accountable for your internal state, you reclaim authority over your energy. You stop allowing the outside world to dictate your mental climate. Over weeks and months, daily conditioning rewires your brain. What was once automatic negativity becomes optional. Resourcefulness, optimism, and courage become the default. Your energy changes. Your actions follow. Your life begins to reflect the results of intentional thought patterns. In the next section, we'll explore the power of emotional physiology, how posture, breath, and movement amplify mental mastery and crush negative thinking at a physical level. Negative thinking is not only mental, it is physiological. Your posture, your breathing, your movement, your facial expressions, they all feed your mental state. Most people don't realize that slumping, shallow breathing, and low energy reinforce the very thoughts they want to escape. Energy flows where focus goes, but it also flows how your body moves. Your physiology is a lever you can use to interrupt negativity instantly. Stand tall, pull your shoulders back, lift your chin, take deep, controlled breaths, move vigorously, engage your body with energy. You are sending signals to your nervous system, to your brain, and to the universe. I am ready. I am resourceful. I am capable. This is not just posture. It is state management at a primal level. Negative thinking thrives in stillness and contraction. When you feel fear, doubt, or self-criticism, your body naturally contracts. Your heart rate drops or becomes erratic. Your mind races. The two feed each other in a destructive loop. By changing your physical state, you break the cycle. You shock your system out of autopilot. You shift from reactive limitation to proactive empowerment. Tony Robbins often says, motion creates emotion. This is literal. Physical energy influences mental energy. Jump, clap, move, breathe, and watch how your internal dialogue changes. The body is not separate from the mind. It is the accelerator of transformation. When you combine physiological shifts with awareness, reframing, and daily conditioning, you create a full circuit approach to killing negativity. This is why elite performers always start with their body. Athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, they know energy is contagious. They control their state first, thoughts second. You cannot think your way out of negativity alone. You must feel your way out through motion, posture, and breath. The power of physiology also extends into social and professional interactions. People respond to your energy before they respond to your words. Positive, strong, confident energy attracts opportunities. It creates influence. It signals readiness. Negativity repels both. Once you master emotional physiology, negativity becomes optional. You have a tool that works instantly anywhere at any time. You are no longer a victim of your thoughts. You are the conductor of your energy, the leader of your state, and the architect of your mental climate. In the next section, we will dive into the role of environment, how your surroundings either reinforce negativity or amplify positivity and growth. Negativity doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is fed by the environment around you. The people you spend time with, the media you consume, the spaces you occupy, all of these factors influence your thoughts, your energy, and your beliefs. You can train your mind, master your physiology, and reframe challenges, but if your environment constantly reinforces fear, doubt, and limitation, your progress will be slowed or even reversed. The first step in controlling your environment is awareness. Identify who and what drains your energy. Pay attention to conversations that leave you anxious, doubtful, or small. Notice media that triggers fear, envy, or procrastination. These are the subtle toxins that fuel negative thinking. Eliminating or reducing them is not optional. It is necessary. Next, cultivate influences that elevate you. Surround yourself with people who inspire courage, take action, and maintain a positive outlook. Engage with media, books, podcasts, and experiences that teach growth, resilience, and solution-oriented thinking. Your environment should amplify your energy, not siphon it. Remember, energy is contagious. You are constantly absorbing and transmitting it. Choose wisely. Physical space matters too. Clutter, chaos, and disorganization reinforce mental clutter and stress. A clean, intentional space signals clarity and purpose to your mind. Simple adjustments, tidying your workspace, creating rituals around organization, or designing areas that encourage focus support the neural patterns you're trying to build. Environment also influences accountability. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, who hold you to your commitments, and who model the mindset you want to adopt. Accountability cannot be sustained in isolation. It requires external reinforcement from aligned influences. Finally, remember that your environment is also an opportunity for creation, not just consumption. You can design your surroundings, selectively choose interactions, and create daily rituals that consistently support mental mastery. By actively shaping what surrounds you, you amplify the power of awareness, physiology, and daily mental conditioning. When your environment consistently aligns with your goals, negative thinking loses its grip. You no longer rely solely on willpower to resist it. Your external world actively reinforces the positive, empowered mindset you are cultivating. In the next section, we'll explore the power of language, how the words you speak to yourself and others either strengthen negativity or fuel empowerment. Words are not just sounds, they are tools that shape your reality. The language you use internally and externally creates neural pathways, influences your energy and signals to the universe how you engage with life. Negative thinking thrives on negative language. I can't, this is impossible, I'm not ready. Every word reinforces limitation. Every phrase embeds fear deeper into your identity. The first step to kill negative thinking is to become conscious of your language. Notice the words you choose when describing yourself, others, or circumstances. Catch the habitual statements of blame, doubt, and complaint. Awareness alone shifts power. Once you know what you're saying to yourself and to others, you can start changing it. Replace I can't with how can I. Replace I'm not ready with I will learn to be ready. Replace this is too hard with this is an opportunity to grow. The shift is subtle but profound. Language shapes thought. Thought shapes emotion. Emotion shapes energy, and energy shapes results. Speak differently and your mind follows. Language is also a tool for reframing experiences. When you describe a setback as a lesson rather than a failure, you change the emotional impact and the trajectory of your actions. When you describe obstacles as challenges to overcome instead of insurmountable barriers, you mobilize energy instead of draining it. Consistency matters. You cannot occasionally speak positively and expect lasting change. You must train yourself daily to use empowering language, both internally and externally. The moment negativity arises, consciously choose words that reinforce strength, growth, and possibility. Language also impacts your relationships. The words you use influence how others perceive you, respond to you, and align with you. Positive, empowering communication attracts opportunity, collaboration, and trust. Negative, limiting language repels support, energy, and alignment. Remember, negative thinking is not a single thought, it's a pattern. The words you choose either reinforce it or dismantle it. Every word is a vote for the kind of life you want. Speak with awareness, speak with purpose, speak with power. In the next section, we'll explore the role of gratitude, how cultivating appreciation rewires your mind to neutralize negativity and amplify possibility. Gratitude is not a soft, feel-good emotion. It is a strategic weapon against negativity. The moment you shift focus from what's wrong to what's working, from scarcity to abundance, from complaint to appreciation, your energy changes instantly. Negative thoughts lose their grip because your mind can only fully focus on one dominant frequency at a time. Gratitude shifts the frequency from limitation to expansion. Most people overlook this. They wait for life to feel perfect before feeling grateful. That's backwards. The act of gratitude is not about circumstances. It's about choice. Choosing to see the small wins, the overlooked support, the lessons hidden in challenges. This builds resilience, optimism, and mental strength. It rewires your brain to notice opportunity instead of problem. Gratitude also combats emotional hijacking. Negative thinking often triggers fear, frustration, or despair, which then shapes actions and outcomes. When you actively practice gratitude, you create a psychological buffer. You interrupt autopilot complaining. You slow the cycle of reactive energy. You regain clarity and resourcefulness. Daily rituals amplify this effect. Start or end each day by listing things you genuinely appreciate. Notice 3 wins, no matter how small. Reflect on lessons learned from challenges. Recognize the people and resources that support your journey. Over time, this practice becomes a neural anchor. Your mind begins to default toward appreciation, which suppresses habitual negativity. Gratitude also affects your relationships and environment. People are drawn to energy that values, acknowledges, and uplifts. By consistently expressing gratitude, you strengthen bonds, increase trust, and attract cooperation. Your external world starts reflecting the internal energy you cultivate. Remember, killing negative thinking is not just about eliminating destructive thoughts. It's about filling that space with powerful, constructive alternatives. Gratitude is one of the strongest alternatives. It shifts focus, amplifies energy, and rewires your emotional and mental patterns to favor empowerment. In the next section, we'll explore taking massive, purposeful action. How consistent, aligned activity not only reinforces positivity, but accelerates the collapse of negative thought patterns. Thinking alone will never kill negativity. Awareness, reframing, gratitude, these are powerful, but they are preparatory steps. The real shift happens in action. Action changes energy. Action rewires beliefs. Action communicates to your nervous system that you are serious about creating a different life. Negative thinking collapses in the presence of movement and results. The problem most people face is waiting for the perfect moment, for the perfect plan, for the perfect emotion. That's procrastination disguised as strategy. In reality, perfection is an illusion. Action is the antidote. When you act, even imperfectly, you send a message to your mind, I am capable, I am resourceful, I am in charge of my life. Massive action is not about reckless energy. It is consistent, aligned, and purposeful effort. Every step you take toward your goals reinforces a new identity, one of competence, courage, and control. Each action builds proof that you can overcome challenges, learn from mistakes, and produce results. And the more proof you accumulate, the weaker negativity becomes. Action also shapes your environment. When you move decisively, you attract people, resources, and opportunities aligned with your energy. Hesitation, doubt, and complaint repel what you need. Movement invites it. Energy flows to motion. Momentum grows from doing, not thinking. Start with small wins. Identify daily actions that move you toward your vision. Track them, celebrate them, use them as fuel to keep momentum alive. Action is the bridge between thought and reality. It transforms your internal work, awareness, reframing, gratitude, physiology, language into tangible results. Remember, negative thinking is comfortable. It is familiar, but comfort never creates growth. Growth comes from risk, discomfort, and relentless action. When you consistently act, despite fear, doubt, or resistance, negativity loses its foothold. It cannot survive in a mind that is actively producing results and reinforcing its own capability. In the next section, we will explore accountability, how taking ownership of your mental state and actions locks in positive transformation and prevents relapse into old patterns. Killing negative thinking requires ownership. Too many people blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck for the patterns in their mind. The truth, you are responsible for your internal state. Every thought, every reaction, every choice, it is yours. Accountability is the bridge between intention and transformation. Without it, change remains superficial. The first step in accountability is self-honesty. Track your thoughts, notice recurring negative patterns, and accept that they exist. Do not rationalize or justify them. When you see them clearly, you gain power over them. Denial allows negativity to run unchecked. Acknowledgement gives you control. Next, connect accountability to action. Awareness without action is wasted energy. When you notice a negative thought, take deliberate steps to interrupt it, reframe it, or replace it with an empowering alternative. When you commit to daily mental conditioning, gratitude, and purposeful action, hold yourself accountable to do it consistently. No excuses, no exceptions. Accountability also extends to your environment. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, who reflect the mindset you want to cultivate, and who hold you to high standards. A supportive yet honest network acts as a mirror, showing you where your energy is aligned and where it is drifting back into negativity. Writing, journaling, or tracking progress amplifies accountability. When you document your mental and emotional patterns, victories, and setbacks, you externalize responsibility. You see proof of growth in areas needing work. You convert abstract intentions into measurable results. Finally, accountability empowers self-respect and confidence. When you consistently honor your commitments to yourself, to manage your thoughts, control your energy, and take aligned action, you reinforce the belief that you are capable, disciplined, and in charge. Negativity cannot survive in a mind that takes full ownership of its state and its results. Accountability is not punishment, it is freedom. It is the tool that transforms awareness, reframing, gratitude, action, physiology, environment, and language into sustainable mental mastery. In the next section, we will explore courage, stepping beyond fear and doubt to permanently dismantle negative thinking and embrace empowered living. Negative thinking thrives on fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. Every I can't or what if is fueled by it. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in spite of fear. When you confront fear head on, you strip negative thinking of its power. Fear is the fuel. Courage is the extinguisher. Every step you take in courage reshapes your neural patterns. Every choice to act despite doubt strengthens your identity as someone capable, resourceful, and resilient. The mind begins to recalibrate. It no longer defaults to limitation because it has proof. You can take risks, handle discomfort, and produce results. Negative thinking loses authority when confronted with repeated, deliberate courage. Courage also changes the emotional narrative of your life. When you act boldly, you experience triumph, growth, and momentum. These experiences reinforce positivity and optimism. They create proof that the world is not as threatening as fear suggests. Momentum compounds. Each act of courage makes the next easier, creating a self-reinforcing cycle that systematically dismantles negativity. Importantly, courage is cultivated in small, consistent acts. You don't need a grand gesture. Start with everyday decisions, speaking up when it's uncomfortable, committing to daily mental practices despite resistance, reframing challenges instead of complaining, taking action in uncertainty. Each choice builds neural pathways of empowerment. Courage also extends to your interactions with the world. Facing conflict, making tough decisions, and challenging limiting beliefs in conversations or environments reinforces your inner authority. People respond to energy of courage. Opportunities align with those willing to step forward. Negativity cannot thrive in a field charged with decisive action. Finally, courage is not solitary. Accountability, environment, and support amplify it. Sharing your commitment to positive thinking, acting in alignment with your vision, and confronting fear in a supportive community accelerates growth. In the next section, we will explore resilience, sustaining empowered thinking through setbacks and adversity to ensure negative patterns never regain dominance. Negative thinking has one ally: setbacks. Every challenge, mistake, or disappointment can become fuel for doubt, fear, and self-criticism. The difference between those who remain stuck and those who thrive is resilience, the ability to recover, adapt, and move forward stronger than before. Resilience is the armor that shields you from negativity and reinforces positivity. Resilience begins with perspective. Every setback is data, not destiny. It is a signal that something needs adjustment, not proof that you're incapable. When you view challenges as feedback instead of failure, your mind no longer defaults to negativity. You see opportunity in adversity. You see solutions instead of problems. You see growth instead of limitation. The next component is emotional regulation. Life will knock you down, that's guaranteed. But how long you stay down, how you respond, and the energy you bring back to the fight determine whether negativity takes root or positivity thrives. Resilient individuals control their state, manage their physiology, and channel their energy to solutions rather than complaints. They act, they persist, and they rebuild momentum immediately. Habits reinforce resilience. Daily mental conditioning, gratitude, accountability, and courageous action create a foundation that is unshakable. When these practices are ingrained, even major setbacks become temporary detours, not permanent obstacles. Negative thinking loses traction because your baseline state is already aligned with growth, possibility, and action. Resilience also extends to relationships, finances, and career. People gravitate toward those who remain steady under pressure, who think clearly during chaos, and who act decisively in the face of uncertainty. Your ability to maintain positivity and focus under adversity amplifies opportunities and strengthens connections, creating a positive feedback loop that repels negativity. Ultimately, resilience is not something you stumble upon. It is intentionally built, cultivated through practice, reflection, and relentless commitment to mental mastery. Each time you recover, each time you act despite fear, each time you persist despite doubt, you cement your identity as someone unstoppable, someone unshakable, someone who refuses to let negative thinking control their life. In the final section, we will tie everything together: awareness, physiology, environment, language, gratitude, action, courage, accountability, and resilience into a blueprint for permanently killing negative thinking and living an empowered life. This is the moment where everything comes together. Every strategy, every principle, every practice you've learned. Awareness, interruption, reframing, daily mental conditioning, physiology, environment, language, gratitude, action, accountability, courage, resilience converges into one empowered way of being. Killing negative thinking is not about eliminating thoughts. That's impossible. It's about mastering your response to them. It's about intercepting, reframing, and replacing patterns that no longer serve you. It's about creating a life where positivity, resourcefulness, and action are the default, and negativity is optional, fleeting, and powerless. Integration starts with awareness. You notice every thought that seeks to drag you down. Then comes interruption, the deliberate act of stopping it before it hijacks your energy. You reframe it into opportunity. You reinforce this with daily mental conditioning, rituals that prime your mind for clarity, focus, and energy. Your physiology, posture, breath, movement amplifies the state you're creating internally. Your environment is curated to support you. Your language is precise, empowering, and solution-oriented. Gratitude fills the gaps, shifting focus from limitation to abundance. Action transforms internal mastery into tangible results. Accountability ensures consistency. Courage pushes you beyond fear, and resilience sustains you through setbacks. Together, these form an unbreakable system. This blueprint works because it attacks negativity at every level: mind, body, energy, and environment. It rewires your neural pathways, strengthens your emotional capacity, and creates a field of energy that attracts opportunity, alignment, and success. Negative thoughts are no longer enemies. They are signals that prompt action, reflection, and growth. Remember, mastery is a practice, not a destination. You will encounter challenges, old habits, and moments of doubt. That's normal. What separates those who thrive from those who stagnate is consistent, intentional application. Every thought intercepted, every habit replaced, every courageous action compounds. Momentum builds, confidence grows, energy amplifies. Negative thinking collapses under the weight of deliberate, sustained transformation. The final truth is this: you are in control. Your mind is yours to shape. Your energy is yours to command. Your life is yours to design. Negative thinking is not permanent. It is temporary, optional, and conquerable. Start today, not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect. Today. Apply this blueprint relentlessly. Own your thoughts, master your energy, take massive, consistent action, step into courage, build resilience, and live a life where negativity no longer controls your decisions, your relationships, your opportunities, or your destiny. Your mind is your kingdom. Rule it, unleash it, and live fully free.